Hello, fellow classmates. My name is Catherine Mitchell, and this is my Continuity of Operations plan. I conducted my COOP plan for Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics, which is the facility that I work for here in Bangor, Washington. So, Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics is a department of Sports, Fitness, and Aquatics department of MWR, which is part of the Department of the Navy. We have two aquatics facilities at two separate installations of Naval Base Kitsap. So we have one at the Bremerton Puget Sound Naval Shipyard installation and one at the Bangor Sub Base installation. Between the two installations, we see about 400 patrons a day, we support over 650,000 gallons of water, which is constantly filtering. And we are considered a mission essential agency for the United States Navy, meaning we're a Class A department, which basically boils down to the fact that we are fully funded by the federal budget for this installation for Naval Base Kitsap. We are completely funded by them. We are considered mission essential because we serve a purpose for the divers and the rescue swimmers of the Navy to be able to train. So we have to exist. Every installation has to have an aquatics facility. So Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics does not at this point have its own mission statement, but they fall under the objectives of MWR. MWR is the overseeing organization or program. It stands for Morale, Welfare, and Readiness. And they're basing that in terms of they call it fleet and family. So the fleet meaning the actual active duty sailors and their dependents who are their families. So the objectives for MWR, you can see here, to provide safe and secure environment to sustain the fleet and enable the fighter and support the family, hiring, developing, and retaining the most talented and committed team members, and to work with our community partners to develop and execute an installation plan that will support the Navy's mission. So NBK Aquatics fits into these objectives, and we attempt to uphold them. At NBK Aquatics, we have the two separate aquatics facilities have two different chemical systems. So we have a variety of chemicals stored at both facilities. We have sodium hypochlorite, which is a liquid chlorine, calcium hypochlorite, which is a powdered chlorine. We have chlorine briquette tablets, bromine briquette tablets, muriatic acid. We carry those in both 1-gallon jugs and 15-gallon drums. We have sodium bicarbonate and we have calcium chloride. We have a mix of smaller chemicals that we use to adjust like the clarity of the pool and things like that. But these are the big ones that we have on hand and a surplus of at all times. So the potential continuity events that could affect Naval Base Kitsap and more specifically the NBK Aquatics facilities, we have to consider both indirect and direct human cause events because we are on a military base. There's always a chance that there could be some kind of direct attack that would affect the facility. The indirect human caused events, we're talking about accidental human cause, so fire, building collapse, power outages, some kind of damage to the pool infrastructure because of those things. And then we have to consider the direct human caused events. So we have to consider bombs, active shooter situations, structural damages. It could be intentionally set fires. And then we have our natural disasters, which are going to be our earthquakes. We do have a wildfire risk because Naval Base Kitsap is part of the evergreen area of Washington, meaning that they make a strong effort to not cut down a lot of trees and foliage on base. So it doesn't look like your typical military base where it's all clear and flat. It's full of trees. So it's definitely at risk for wildfire. Erosion is a big issue here in Washington because of the amount of rain, lightning strikes, and then inclement weather that could lead to dangerous driving conditions on to and off of base are always a concern both for our staff and for our patrons. All right, the continuity team and the organizational structure. There is kind of a unique organizational structure for Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics because we are a department within a department. We have a couple different bosses. So my boss, you can see here on the left, is Robin Gross. She's the aquatics department manager. Under her are the two aquatics leads, which are Krista Nall and Jesse Arthur. And then falls me. I'm the senior water safety instructor. So my role, I teach not only adult and child swim lessons, I'm also responsible for water safety practices for active duty. Above Robin, her direct manager is going to be the Sports, Fitness, and Aquatics Department manager, which is Julia McLaughlin. And then above Julia is the Program Installation Director for NWR, which is Beth Leone Mullins. So Beth focuses on MWR as a whole for the entirety of Naval Base Kitsap. That's its 3 installations: Bremerton Puget Sound Naval Shipyard, Bangor Sub Base, and then Keyport. We do not have an aquatics facility at Keyport. And then below her, Julia McLaughlin manages specifically the sports, fitness, and aquatics department. There are other departments within MWR, but they're not concerned with this business or this continuity of operations plan. So the essential functions that I determined for Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics were, in order of priority: security, communications, pool chemical pumps, and chemical controls and balance. Security, I went back and forth with as my number one, but I ultimately chose it because if we aren't able to secure the pool, then we are not able to operate the pool. There is a legal precedent that says that if we were to leave the pool unsecured for some reason without safety personnel present, and somebody either came in and tried to swim in the pool and got injured, or accidentally fell into the pool and subsequently got injured or drowned, we are liable for that risk. So not being able to secure the pool means that we cannot function as an organization. We cannot have a continuity of operations. It can't happen. Communications was number 2 because without communications, we aren't able to pass messages between not only our staff, but between staff and the other stakeholders of the organization, which we're going to look at in a few minutes. And that presents a big problem. We rely on communications. Being an aquatics facility, an indoor aquatics facility, we're segregated back inside the joint facility. So both of our facilities are joint with fitness and aquatics. So it's the gym is connected to the pool. So if we don't have a means to communicate not only with the fitness staff, but also with Naval Base Kitsap security forces, we are really at a loss. If we can't get messages in and out, we don't know what's going on outside the base, and our staff and our patrons are at risk for not being able to get emergency messages. And then the pool chemical pumps and chemical controls and balance are really the function of the pool. Because of the way the pools are designed, the water has to constantly be filtering, and there's an automatic system that reads the different chemical levels in the water and feeds the right amount of chemicals to keep it within a certain range. We do have the ability to check those manually, which we do 4 times a day anyway, and we can add chemicals by hand. But because it is such a large pool, Bangor is a 450,000 gallon pool with a 9,000 gallon spa, and Bremerton is a 172,000 gallon pool with a 3,000 gallon spa. It can be very difficult to add enough chemicals by hand to keep the ranges where they need to be. And without the pumps and the filtration system, the water can become unsafe, and we have an unsafe aquatic environment for swimmers. We try to avoid that because it can cause mucous membrane damage, eye damage, damage to the nasal passages, airway passages, and the skin. We don't want anyone getting out of our pool with chemical burns. So those are our essential functions that we have to have present to have basic operations going on at Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics. So the concept of operations, I broke it down into 4 phases because it matches up the best with the federal template, which is what I used. So our first stage is going to be readiness and preparedness. This happens before any kind of continuity event. We handle that Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics by tabletop exercises and drills. We conduct these monthly at our in-service meetings. The tabletop exercises are something that we have the ability to practice outside of in-service, so we can practice it daily as we have extra staff or things are slow. And the drills are something we practice in large and small groups, and we do those during in-service because in-services occur outside of our operating hours, so we are able to actually mock evacuate the facility or pull the fire alarms or things that we wouldn't be able to do during normal operating hours. So the drills are super important for us because it also allows different staff members or newer staff members to assume different roles in the emergency response and in the continuity operations. So it's the best way for us in our situation to get practice and try to work the kinks out. Phase 2 is activation. So in activation, anybody on the continuity team can activate the continuity plan. In truth, any staff member can, but in the plan, I've put in stipulations that if a staff member outside of the continuity team determines that we need to activate it, they need to make an attempt to contact either the aquatics manager, which is Robin Gross, or both the Sports Fitness and Aquatics Manager, Julia McLaughlin, and the Program Installation Director of MWR, Beth Leon Mullins, prior to the activation. They at least need to make an attempt. The continuity of operations, a big one seems to be relocation. We fortunately do have the ability to relocate in most circumstances because we have two identical facilities with identical equipment. We are able to say, okay, we're going to shut down one facility and we're going to run everything out of the other one. It does get a little packed, but it is possible, and we can get all of our patrons through what they need to do. The relocation is just fairly simple for us. Once we have relocated, it's important for us, again, to be able to communicate with our stakeholders, our patrons, that we have relocated. We might need to coordinate chemical deliveries or empty chemical container pickups. We might need to relocate some of our programming that we have, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Phase 4, the reconstitution, is the resumption of normal operation. This hopefully will happen within 24 hours just because we do have so many patrons. And it also depends on what the continuity event was. But the goal is to be reopened with our normal hours and our normal operation and staff within 24 hours. So the relocation, we have essential programs and non-essential programs. Our essential programs are the ones that we are completely funded to do, and those are daily lap swim and physical therapy. We provide both of those for active duty and retirees, and they're required for that mission essential purpose that I talked about earlier. The additional and optional programs that we do conduct for the morale and welfare of the families are swim lessons, water aerobics, and recreational swim time. We conduct swim lessons 4 nights a week, water aerobics twice daily, and recreational swim every evening and all day Saturday. So the communications that we have available to us, the phone is a big one for us. We have a reverse 911 system in place with the NBK security forces. They are able to do a reverse 911 that will hit every landline on base at every facility, and that can send out automated messages. We also have automated messages to a call list of every civilian staff member that works for any agency on Naval Base Kitsap. We have staff phone lists, and we have a voicemail that we're able to change pretty easily. So if we do have to close a facility, we can change that voicemail when people call to ask what's going on, to say, we've had to close this facility. All programs are now operating out of this facility, so on and so forth. The Naval Base Kitsap is really big about using Facebook and Twitter. They have official base pages, and we have an official staff page, and they use it all the time to send out official messages, both on Facebook and Twitter, so people get them quickly because everyone's got their social media readily available these days. And then we also have some electronic message boards, both outside both joint fitness facilities and on the major roadways coming into base. They use them pretty often to display emergency messages, but they can also be used to display continuity messages such as facility closed, temporary facility hours, so on and so forth. The stakeholders that we deal with at Naval Base Kitsap Aquatics, our primary are our patrons, which are active duty personnel, retirees, and their dependent family members. We can notify them in all of the ways that we talked about with the same contact information. We also have some internal stakeholders, which are our staff and employees. Again, we can contact them with phone and with Facebook. And then we have our two chemical specific and aquatic specialty services. They are our two chemical providers. They deliver all of those to us. And finally, sorry, go back one. There we go. Finally, our vital documents and information. We have some vital documents that have to be kept on hand. You can see them here. The big ones are the emergency response guide, the aquatics desk guide. I put the emergency response guide as Annex C in my continuity plan because it has the emergency procedures that need to be taken. So I'm treating it like a functional annex. So I think all of this information really culminated well into my continuity of operations plan. It was a little tricky initially getting it started because I was using a federal facility, but I think it came out well. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. I hope you get a chance to look over my plan. I appreciate your guys' time listening to me. Thank you so much.